Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
I'm Jack.
and we are here to get you ready for the Cannons Week 4 matchup with the Maryland Whipsnakes happening this Saturday at 7 p.m. Couldn't get a member of the Snake Pit here with us to talk it through. All their schedules kind of didn't line up with ours, but we're just gonna get right into it. This feels like definitely a more interesting matchup based on the results of the Week 3 games than if this had happened at any point earlier in the season.
I don't know. I mean, if if the Whips had lost and the Cans had won, and we were going into this 3-0, and they were 0-3, I think there still would have been a ton of intrigue just purely because I mean, I wouldn't say I'd be shocked if the Cans were 3-0 because we thought that they were a good team, but no one would have predicted the Whip Snakes starting off 0-3. So had they gone into it 0-3, it would have been kind of mind blowing. You're like, well, they're 0-3 now. And then you get the question, oh, the Cans are 3-0. They're so good. So the Cans are probably going to win. Then they're going to go start off 0-4. And what the hell is going on in Maryland and yada, yada, yada. So, not to say that a 2-1 versus a 1-2 makes it uninteresting, but I think there would have been a lot of intrigue around the Whip Snakes if they had continued to slide.
Yeah, that's very true. I think maybe what I meant was more that I feel the result of this game feels much less certain than it did a week.
Mm.
Like after weeks one
Mhm.
and two, I was like, oh, I'm just marking that Whips game as a W on my schedule. And now, I mean, it was we all, as we know, I'm gonna still take the Cannons in this game. I do think, I mean, they beat the Atlas by the same score that the Whips beat the Atlas, so um, that means the Cannons are, a better team than the Atlas at least, and can go toe to toe with the Whips. But yeah, I just feel with the some of the changes that they made to the lineup, which we definitely should talk about, that this Whips team looks a lot better than that team that just had no. They looked old on offense, and they didn't have that same juice that New York had for the first half of that game, or that like the Dogs had. Um, yeah. All right, let's get into some of the lineup changes the Whips made last week, and I know we are unfortunately doing this before the rosters come out for game day. But the guys who are in the Whips lineup in week 3 that I believe were not in the lineup before, Colin Heacock scores a hat trick. Um, Brandow bumped down to attack. Rambo comes out of the box. Um, I and Levi Anderson is out of the lineup, I guess, to make room for Heacock. Um, I mean, I think that lineup makes a lot more sense for the Whips. I think putting, you know, we talked about getting, I know Jackson, when he was on, I forget if this was on air or off, was talking about Rambo just looking old and slow, and the solution was just take him off, maybe out of the roster completely. They kind of went halfway. I think it is tough to bench kind of your star player. He was probably the first biggest star this league had, but just doesn't, he's not the same guy in 2025 that he was in 2019.
Yeah, I have not watched uh any of the Whips this year actually, to be honest, but I have obviously followed along with the league, and it certainly seems like he's just a mess. I honestly he was the first biggest star in the league, but I think I was more surprised at how good he was in 2019 versus how seemingly mid he is now in 2025. Just optically
Yeah,
looking at him, you're like, that's not the best lacrosse player on the planet.
yeah,
Like, if I'm being completely blunt, he, like,
yeah.
but that being said, I did want to talk about the Heacock. I didn't, uh, until he was in the lineup for game three, I didn't realize he hadn't been in the lineup in weeks 1 and 2. Do you know what was going on with that? Because it seemed like a no-brainer to put him in the lineup to me.
Yeah, and I mean certainly he played like he wanted to be in the lineup. I'm just checking the lineup here. It looks like, yeah, I think it was straight up Anderson for Heacock, which I mean that's interesting. It's not, yeah, I think Heacock absolutely deserves to be in the lineup, particularly at the midfield, like over Rambo. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know what the reasoning was. I mean, I gotta feel like it was just we got a lot of new faces that we want to put in. You know, Rob Pennell obviously coming over in free agency. He's gonna take someone's spot. Aiden Carroll's gonna take someone's spot. Um, Brandow for Williams.
Yeah, but that's a team that just went to the championship game last year,
Yeah.
and Colin Heacock was a starter on that team. So you would think that those guys would take backup spots and rotate in, not take Colin Heacock out of the lineup. Maybe if Heacock has, a bad week one or two, hell, even if Heacock played week one, played poorly, so they're like, all right, let's swap this around and give some other guy a shot in week two. To be like, nah, we're not gonna play Colin Heacock week one. Oh, we lost. Yeah, let's keep Colin Heacock out of the lineup week two.
Hmm.
Like that logic just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't I was surprised to see him not in the lineup as well. I was certainly like I think just his game and his athleticism is going to give him a longer career. Like I'm surprised Rambo did as well as he did running out of the box, at least for part of the game, because we'll also address that Pinnell got a look like a calf injury. So and pretty early on in the game, like which makes it even more remarkable that the Whips were able to come back with him being kind of physically limited. So Rambo did get bumped down to attack for stretches. Um, but if you gotta like, I think Heacock also played attack in college. You gotta take one of those guys and bump him up to midfield. Like Heacock's played a lot of midfield professionally. Um,
Mhm.
he's much faster. I think he's more two-handed than Rambo. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't get it either. And taking Levi Anderson out of the lineup as well, like after Stagg said in that sideline moment that he benched Rambo because Rambo hadn't done anything. Well, then don't take Levi Anderson out because Levi Anderson has done stuff so far this year. Um, I think we're gonna see different lineups because it is the Whips homecoming. So we'll see, I'm sure, a few different guys in game one versus two.
Mhm.
It will be interesting to see like who gets to play in both and who subs out. I feel like it's probably gonna be like a short stick D mid or like a two-way guy, and then with I don't even know who their attack is gonna be. Like obviously Malone, Pinnell, um, and then is it
Assuming he's healthy.
right? Yeah, assuming he's healthy. I think he'll be healthy enough to go because he played a good chunk of the game against the Atlas. And then you've got Levi Anderson, you got Matt Brandau, um, Rambo, Heacock, Patra, Brad Smith. Who am I leaving out? Did I say Aiden Carroll?
You did not.
All right, so that's nine. So that's one of those guys has to sit. Um, and then I mean, yeah. So it'll be very interesting to see what lineup we get. I do wish we're gonna do this after the lineups came out, but I mean I'd say for my prediction, like the guys that have to be in there are TJ Malone, obviously, I think Brad Smith, Aiden Carroll, and then after that, there's we're a little up in the air. I mean I would feel Potter and Anderson deserve to be in there. And then I guess Pennell is your other attackman. So go Pennell, Malone, Anderson at attack, and then midfield, Aiden Carroll, Colin Heacock, Brad Smith, Adam Patra, and wow, all right, I am running out of
You guess you got to run Rampart out of the box
yeah, I guess
again
you got to
now,
run
huh?
Rambo out of the box. They have Ryan Conrad's out with an injury, and they still have Tucker Dordevic on the roster. And they also have Jack Corris listed as an offensive player, but I don't think he's really ever been a primary offensive guy with the Whips.
Mm.
And then you've got Puglisi, Mazer, and Bernhardt on D. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I convinced myself Rambo out of the box until unless you want to give Cora some runs on offense.
No.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I guess we'll go with that.
yeah, and I mean, he's a big guy, but I'll take any of our short stick D mids wrapped up, matched up on Rambo coming out of the box any day of the week.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you you said again, I didn't watch the game, but you said that Rambo looked decent coming out of the box, but I got to imagine if he's coming out of the box for an entire game, he's going to be absolutely gassed, and
And
it's
yeah,
just
not to
not
mention
going to have.
it's easily going to generate some transition going the other way because
Oh,
yeah, he is
mhm.
not going to be able to get back as fast as
No.
anyone else in that lineup. I did want to check his stat line again. I think he was like one and I know I don't think he scored, but he at least had an assist. Two assists for Rambo, which is
Okay.
more points than he's had in weeks 1 and 2. But
So,
I do think some of that was playing attack when Pinnell was out. Um, yeah,
right.
yeah. One guy we won't see in the lineup though, Scott Smith, your white whale,
Scott,
Scott V. Smith.
that's a bummer.
Hmm.
Yeah. We yeah, down in Carolina now.
Yeah, we'll have to wait for.
That
Don't
I
I
don't
don't
even
know.
know when. Yeah, I have no clue when the
The
Cannons
Cannons.
are playing the Chaos. Is that maybe in Chicago, I want to say?
Oh, it's actually the
So,
next weekend in San Diego.
oh, all right. So
Yeah.
we'll get Scott Smith next week.
All right, and then we'll have him on the pod.
Perfect. And then we'll have him on the roster, the
Yep.
Cannons
Yep.
roster.
Eventually.
That is.
Uh, yeah. All right. I mean, we've talked. All right. Maybe we can use this to transition to talk about the cannon side of the matchup. We've talked a lot about the whips. Um, is I feel like we're seeing in Rambo to a larger degree kind of what we've seen from Asher this year. With Rambo, I
Hmm.
mean, Rambo has played really badly up until last week with no points. Asher is still getting the assists, but only the one goal. And I think he's more two-handed than Rambo. He's still leading the offense from X, but
He's a lot younger too.
yeah, so I don't think it's an age thing necessarily, but he just doesn't look like that same elite playmaker. Like
No.
I don't think he's really gotten to the goal at all this year, unless maybe he, through a pick game got matched up onto a short stick or smaller body guy. Um, I don't remember exactly how big Matt Dunn is. I'm going to look that up now because he's not small. Um, and I gotta feel like he's going to get the Asher matchup this week. So, I mean, hopefully that's the one that finally he's able to uh, he's able to win. Dunn. Can't go from that way. All right, this is ultimately not really worth the time we're spending.
Whatever it is, he's a big guy, but yeah, I don't
Six
know
three,
what's
two
going
twenty
on.
four.
6'3", 224. Yeah. So that's a good size dude. I mean, that's similar to Ash. I think he's 6'2", 220
Yeah,
ish. Not pure muscle,
yeah.
but whereas Matt Dunn is mostly muscle. Um, so it's a little bit different, but still it's yeah, I don't know what do you think is going on with Asher? Like why have we not seen the Asher we're accustomed to through the first three games?
I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe a bad run of defensemen matching up with him. Like we know Hasek has had a lot of success against Asher in both of their
Mhm.
careers. But week one, I don't remember who was on him from the Atlas.
Atlas.
Yeah, I don't remember which defenseman that was. And then we saw Marcus Hudgens, I believe, on the Dogs, kind of contain him. And Hudgens has had a fantastic year so far. I think he's already up there and caused turnovers, despite well, I guess they played 3 games because they had the bye and then the homecoming. Um, but I'm like at some point you gotta like yeah, you're gonna go up against some of the best defensemen in the world. You got to go up and beat your matchups. Um, I don't know if he's maybe looking to feed or if similar to Sowers, teams are like, we're just going to put our best guy on you. You got to beat them. And his size game, like he's obviously one of the bigger attackmen, one of the bigger players in the league, but he's not so much bigger that he can bowl over everyone, whereas Sowers is quicker than everyone. And
Hmm.
that's a little bit of a harder attribute to counter one-on-one, I think.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Like we'll see. Obviously, Dunn's got the size to compete. I guess it's going to be a leverage game. I think Asher is a little bit shorter, which maybe gives him, lower center of gravity to try to knock him off from. Um, I don't know. And I mean, I think the first game against the Whips last year, Asher had like 1 goal and 6 assists. And if that happens again, I'm fine with that because that means the Cannon scored 7 goals, maybe more if you throw a 2-pointer or two in there. Um,
Hmm.
but it just looks like it doesn't look like that's what he's like. Sowers is taking what the defense gives him. Asher, we've also seen kind of get caught in double and triple teams as he gets to that 5-and-5 spot and not be able to get out of it through either a pass or you know bullying or whatever it is. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but he's gonna have to figure it out. And I think Matt Dunn, reigning defensive player of the year, not an easy guy to get it done against, but I do think the Whips defense is not as good as it has been. Certainly not when they were winning the first two PLL championships with that all Maryland defense. I mean, we took one of their best players on defense in Bryce Young. So, you know, hopefully that gives him somewhat of an advantage but I don't think between having like Bryce Young in the huddle versus watching the film, like there's 6 years of tape and it's basically the same guys, just sub out Brendan Krebs for Kyle Bernlohr. And you've got like we all know or they all know what the Whips are doing at this point. It's just
Hmm.
can you design a scheme to beat it? Um, moving on from Asher though, maybe to who you spent quite a while talking about him is some of the other matchups. So Mackesy scored his first goal and then also scored his second and third goal of his career
Yep.
against Philly. That was definitely one of the bright spots along with Owen Grant. Um,
Yep.
who do you think we're going to see in the lineup? Because we've now had 2 games from Mackesy, 1 game from Manny. They each got a hat trick. Um, you remember Manny last year got cut by the Whips coming out of training camp. So he's had a few weeks off. I know, the cross country travel that Kyle talked about when we had him on is tough. I wonder,
Especially with the baby on the way.
right. So I wonder if we're going to see Mackesy again this week because it's in Maryland. And then next week when we go to San Diego, we're going to see Manny because it's a much shorter flight.
That's exactly, yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's where I was going with it. Probably just stick with Maxi again. I thought that we might have seen Manny last week in Philly just because, you trade off, you go one every other plus Manny had a hat trick week one and Maxi didn't do much in
Yeah.
week two, but obviously stuck with Maxi. Not the result you wanted as a team, but Maxi looked better against Philly. So I think, yeah, you probably are just going to ride McAfee this week out in Maryland, and then you get Will Manny back for San Diego, and then he's got another week off with All Star, and then who knows kind of when what the baby schedule is and when what his travel will be like. But yeah, I think the attack line is what we probably should. Well, I guess Marcus is probably going to retire soon, but I was going to say that it's going to be the attack line that we should get used to seeing for the foreseeable future of Marcus, Asher, and Mackesy.
Yeah, I think the only 2 factors that might put Manny in the lineup this week are one, that revenge factor is does he want to light up the team that cut him a year ago? Um, and then two,
Hmm.
if the baby's due, say at the beginning of July, which is All-Star weekend, then you're not going to leave to go play in Chicago and Fairfield with a week or 2 week old baby. So is it like, oh, this is my last chance to play before the baby's here? So or like this in San Diego are my last chances to play. So maybe he gets in for that reason. Um,
Potentially.
Yeah, but on the
But
same like you got to put the lineup that gives your team the best chance to win out there. And
yeah,
if Brian thinks that's Coulter or it's Will, like I'm fine with either one.
yeah, and I think obviously the revenge part would be very sweet. However, I think that, obviously it's a conference opponent, so you're gonna get to play the Whips twice, and the second time is in Boston. And so I think unless there's some crazy unforeseen circumstance, baby comes really late or whatever, and there's very legitimate personal reasons for him to miss it. I can't imagine that Will Manny is not on that homecoming roster. I mean, the crowd
Yeah,
would to see Will Manny run out in a Cannons uniform at Harvard would just be the most electric moment of the season, and probably, depending on the outcome of the game, might honestly top the Philly game from
yeah,
last year. Just be seeing him back out uh, on that field. Like imagine if like Paul Rabel was still playing and the fans got to see him run back out there in a Cannons jersey. So I think it would take something massive to keep Manny off of the homecoming roster. So I wouldn't really put too much weight on the revenge game for this go around because he'll have another shot
yeah.
to take him down at the end of the season.
Right. Unless, I mean, if Malone, or sorry, if Maxey starts putting up points like TJ Malone did last year, then that's probably the only other thing that could keep him out.
Run him out of the box.
Yeah.
You were putting Will Manny on the homecoming roster. You are not allowing him to play in one of those games.
No, I think I agree with you. Yeah, even if you split it and give Coulter one and him the other. Yeah. All right. I think I guess we're kind of in agreement. We're probably going to see Coulter this weekend. Ah,
Yes.
yeah. Um, and then who do you think we're going to see in the midfield? So we know we're going to see Campbell. We know we're going to see Drenner. We know I think we're going to see Connor Kirst, though. Like he hasn't had the best year. I believe he only has one assist so far and no goals. But still, he feels like a very important like leadership component of this team, and he can also play on the face-off wing and two-way, and he's taken a few face-offs when Tucci's had the violations. Um, so who do you, assuming those three guys are locks, and I do still think they are, who do you think we see
Hmm.
from middies 4 and 5? Hogg
Nick
again?
Kelly.
Oh, you think we're gonna see Kelly?
I think Kelly gets back in there. He played well week one. I think he was unprotected last week, and Brian talked about him being essentially a right-handed Matt Campbell, and so I do think it would make sense to see him out there. So I would put him at four, and then yeah, what are the other options? Hogg, Donville,
Vardar.
um, Vodaro. Ooh, I
And is
don't
there?
I don't think Donville. So I think it's a toss up between Hogg and Vodaro for me. But what do you think?
I mean, I feel like you should go with the lineup that scored you the most goals, and also the players individually who have had the best performances so far. And I think that's,
Hmm.
well, I mean, Kelly only has the one goal in one game, which is fine, like first career game. Um, Hogg has played great, or I feel like you still have to keep him
Yeah,
in the lineup. Let me check exactly how many points he has, but I believe, yeah, he's got 4 points so far on the year, 3 goals and an assist in 2 games. So
yeah.
I'll take
So
that production from basically your
I
fourth or
bet-
fifth midfield option. Um, and then I do
agreed.
want to,
Yeah. So
yeah, I do want to get another look at Kelly, because
yeah,
he scored the first goal of the year for the Cannons. He played well, so um,
right.
it's I mean it's right the option of you got too many talented players, so it's a good problem to have.
It is definitely. But yeah, that's a lineup that I would feel really solid and comfortable about. And then honestly, beyond that though, I feel like there's no question marks. You know who your D mids are, you know who your defense is, and you know who your foco is, and you know who your goalie is. The only question might be, oh, and your LSMs is not that it really matters, but who are the two D mids that actually start and who is the LSM that actually starts? I assume it's Raw again as the starting LSM, not that it really
Yeah,
matters. And then the quote unquote starting D mids, I think it's been Ramsey and Goody.
I think you're
That's
right. Yeah.
there. I guess for my personal bias, I would rather see Jeffrey as a starter,
I mean, of course. And
but
I'm sure he'll
it
start in
it, it
homecoming as
doesn't
well.
matter. It doesn't matter. They're on the roster. They're playing. They're getting even reps. They're just not taking the first rep.
Yeah. Um, I mean, there is one small question is we haven't seen TJ Comizio yet. I don't feel like like any of the Cannons D mids has played badly enough to justify being taken out. Um, this would also be a revenge game for him. Like he played for the Whips in 2020 and 2021. Um, and that was the last game he played was one game with the Whips in 2021. So if you
Mm.
wanted to get a look at him, this might be the time to do it, especially like I don't think anyone is injured. Like we have no I'm sure they don't feel great 3 games in because no one feels, great once the season
Hmm.
starts. But yeah, that's the only other kind of small question out there is uh,
Yeah.
you feel like he's on the roster and Carter Parlett didn't play at all last year, so maybe TJ won't either. But um, yeah, I don't know. Um, it's out there, and I think I mean I'm interested to see what he does so far. I don't know who you take out for him, right? Like that's what Holman said when we asked him about Will Manny last year, is who do you take out? And I feel like none of the 3 guys out there has justified being taken off the field with their play. So
Mm.
um, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as the saying goes.
Right. The one thing that, or do you have anything else to talk about in terms of Cannon's
I don't think so.
lineup or anything like that?
No,
The the one topic I want to throw out there is just the intrigue that we've had 3 weekends in a row of Friday, Saturday lacrosse. This is the first Saturday, Sunday. Not a huge deal in theory, but the whole thing with homecoming has always been you get the first game on day one and the second game on day two to spread it out more. But that's not the case this
Mhm.
weekend. The Whips are playing the second game on day one, which from an optics stand, not maybe optics isn't the right word, but from a fan perspective, I guess you want the home team to get the prime time Saturday night lacrosse matchup, especially because the PLL is really pushing that on ESPN now. If that is the marquee matchup of the week, obviously you want Maryland to be in that slot in Maryland,
Yeah,
but then to have them turn around and play at whatever it is, three
two
o'clock
30.
on
Yes.
2:30, like
Well,
less
it
than
will wind up being
24
closer to
hours
3,
later.
but yeah,
Okay, less than 24. The game will start less than 24 hours after their first game ended like that. They're just getting shafted. And honestly, if I was Stags, I would be screaming at Mike and Paul over what BS that is.
yeah.
Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, it's got to be. I don't know if it's the venue thing itself. I mean, there are a lot. I think 3 of the 4 games are on linear. The 4 o'clock game, I believe, is ESPN. I think Saturday is ESPN 2, or Saturday night is ESPN 2, and then the 12 o'clock on Sunday is ABC. So like that's the real reason. Yeah, ESPN,
Hmm.
ESPN2, and ABC. But yeah, I'd be so pissed if I was
But
the Whips. And on the other side, man, what I would give to swap with the Chaos to be playing the Whips 19 or something hours after they played another game against the
and
Chaos.
the Chaos are coming off a bye too.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, the you mentioned the linear, but they've had 3 weeks already with only one game not solely on ESPN Plus, and I get you want more exposure, but like what like it has to be a an issue with Johns Hopkins somehow not being available on Friday for some reason because I can't rationalize why you wouldn't have the Whips playing at 5, 6, 7 o'clock Friday night. What and then whatever is the first game on Saturday being the second game on Friday, and then letting the Whips close out homecoming on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock on Saturday. Like it,
No, I
I
totally
don't
agree.
know.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if like Homewood Field has a schedule of everything. It looks like on their website they
And,
just have.
and if that is the case, like obviously scheduling venues like that, it's a hassle. Like I'm not saying this is easy. The whole touring model is tough. You got to get the venue for the weekend. You got to get it all lined up. So it's a hard ass job, but you got to think it if there is something on Friday, like could Maryland have been a different weekend? Like I don't know. Like well, it's not like Maryland has to be this weekend because of like the flow of like the travel. I mean, they're going to San Diego the week after, and they're going to be like bouncing around it in the second half of the year. They're going to go from, I think, Denver to Boston. So it's not like a smooth path that they're following. So yeah, I don't really know where I'm going with this tangent. Like, because I agree, it would be awesome to be the chaos in
Yeah,
this situation. But damn, that just sucks for Maryland. Like
yeah,
that's just blows, and I'm really curious what the rationale is because it just doesn't make sense and honestly just does not sound fair. Like genuinely. And that's not like, oh, life's not fair, like shit happens. Like this there could be a very legitimate reason, but there's not a public one. So all I can say is that when you just look at the schedule, you're like, what the hell? Like, why is Maryland just getting absolutely shafted?
yeah. I will. It looks like San Diego is playing games 1 and 3 the next weekend, but those are 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. and 8 p.m. starts. So it's 23 hours in between, which is still not great, but better. Um,
Yeah,
and
you're
let's,
at least, well, I mean, like in Boston, we're playing at I think 6:30 and 7. It's
yeah,
24 hours apart. Like that's fine. And most of the games are it's Friday night, Saturday night. That like you're not gonna get a crazy long distance. Like that's part of the homecoming. It's 2 games in 2 days. It the so even if you make the argument, oh, it should be first on day one and second on day two, and maybe it's second on both days or first on both days. If they're at least roughly 24 hours apart, like that's fine. It's the fact that they're playing at 7 p.m. and then having to do Sunday afternoon. If it was
yeah,
Sunday night, I don't think anyone would be saying anything. It's the Sunday afternoon that just
yeah.
makes no sense.
It is. I just looked up the remainder of the weekends. It is far and away the smallest gap. Um, yeah, San Diego, it's what was it, 9 and 8, and
Okay.
this is also the only Saturday Sunday weekend. Uh,
Every other
oh,
weekend is
oh
Friday,
no,
Saturday.
San Diego's 9 and 6, so they have 21 hours, but that's still better than what 19.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, every other weekend is a Friday Saturday. So I don't know what it was about this weekend. Um, Maybe they also wanted both like the full weekend to have like the back-to-back games where you buy the one ticket. That was probably also a factor. Thinking
Mhm.
that like instead of having the gap where you need to buy a separate ticket for each game, they probably maybe they figured one, the Maryland people are going to show up and want to watch all four of these games, so we can more people be willing to pay for that combined ticket. Um,
Mm.
and they just did. And I mean, I do think linear TV was the biggest reason for it. Um, but yeah, I mean, the one consolation for the Whips is they're playing the team that looks like it's going to have the worst offense, and is going to contend for the worst record in the league. I think probably most people will pick them being the worst team going into it. But by the same token, like they have an incredible defense, and 19 after playing another game, the Cannons are not going to go easy on them by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
To try to have to get past Jack Rowlett and Jared Newman, and then your reward for that is shooting on Blaze Reardon. Uh, Not a fun time. So I think we will. I definitely want to ask our Snake Pit friends how they're feeling about that this weekend. Um, because yeah, I mean, it condenses the weekend a little bit more as fans, so maybe you get a little bit more of that Sunday evening back. But yeah, I'm glad the Cannons don't have to deal with this. Is the long and short.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, all right. I mean, I we covered this, I think, pretty thoroughly. We went really in depth on some of those topics there. Let's say maybe just wrap this up with obviously a score prediction and
Hmm.
something you're worried about from the Whips and something you feel really confident about from the Whips. Like,
All
so you
right.
feel confident the Cannons will do well against the Whips.
Yeah. Score prediction, let's go 12-9 Cannons. And then I'd say what I'm worried about with the Whips is that they're the Whips. I know they didn't look great the first 2 weeks, but they won last weekend, so maybe they figured they're starting to click and that they'll turn into the Whipsnakes that we all know and hate. And then on the flip side, what I feel confident is just the Cannons have just been proven under Brian Holland to be a really resilient team, at least in the regular season, and to be able to win in different ways. They've already shown it just this year that they can put out different lineups and win games in different ways. And so I would just feel confident that the Cannons will be able to find a way no matter what happens.
Yeah. Um, Beautifully said, Jack. My score prediction, I think it's going to be a little bit more of an offensive game. I'm going to go 15-12 Cannons. Um, what I'm most worried about, I mean, of course, there's a few things, TJ Malone, etc. But it's Joe Nardella, because I think he got the edge against Baptiste last weekend, and like he's absolutely gonna dominate Tucci, at least in terms of wins. So it's just a question of can Tucci and can Grant and Rawl and the rope unit prevent him from getting early offense, like we've seen. If you can force the guy to go backward, give him that extra short shot clock, I think making Nardella win it backwards is going to be huge for the Cannons not to give up that early offense and kind of get those like ghost possessions where you only have the ball for like 10, 15 seconds in the offensive end.
Mhm.
Um, where I feel good, I mean, I think whether it's Manny or McAsee, I feel good about the offense. No disrespect to Brendan Krebs, I do feel like the Cannons have the edge in goal. Um, Krebs obviously like he played better than the game that Emmett Carroll was in, so um, definitely got to give him his credit. Like he belongs as a starter in this league, but um, I don't know. I'm still just not quite as sold on him as I am on Colin Kurst. Now I'm sure homerism and bias is part of that. Um, but yeah, I think that the Cannons are going to have some offensive success, and particularly if Asher can win his matchup with Matt Dunn, um, I think it's going to be maybe a little similar to what we saw last year, where the Cannons, it was like neck and neck, and the Cannons went on a huge run and kind of broke the game open. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, we'll I guess we'll end it there. If you're in the Boston area, please come to the watch party. Hang out with us, cheer on the Cannons, boo the Whipsnakes, and all that good stuff. Should be having it at West End Johnny's yet again. Portland Street, right by the Garden. So some decent parking options, but also, of course, the Green Line, and the Orange Line. Although the orange line's down this weekend, just a heads up to anyone who didn't know
and
that.
and the commuter rail as well.
Oh, I didn't know about the commuter rail. Um,
Tournament, yeah, it goes right into North Station.
oh, sorry, I thought you meant the commuter rail was down.
Oh, sorry. No, no. I no, commuter rail is up and running.
Cool.
I was just referring to public
Yep.
transportation
Yes.
options.
Yes, that's certainly how I got into Boston before I moved to Boston. Yeah, so commuter rail, orange line, green line, um, and hanging out with other lacrosse loving people to watch the Cannons go 3-1 and make the Whipsnakes 1-3, which will feel oh so good.
Yes,
Um,
it will.
yeah, all right. So we'll be back Monday with a recap. Whatever happens, it's going to be a Cannons win. But until then, go Cannons.
Go Cannons.
Boom!
Boo!